won it before, so she knows what it tastes like.
Exactly.
And she also had the first foul of tonight because nobody else was taking.
What's your question for Caitlin? What's the hardest part about playing basketball? It seems like a simple ask, but when you're Caitlin Clark, even that straightforward query takes on epic proportions. How do you handle the everyday rigors of a game you excel at more than almost anyone else on the planet? How do you stay grounded when every corner you turn in Indianapolis feels like a stakeout for your next appearance? These are the only two questions this introduction will pose, because if you think that's all, buckle up.
Indianapolis sets the scene for what is.
Caitlin Clark didn't set foot on the court for a single minute of the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, yet she was the MVP of excitement, the CEO of energy, the architect of atmosphere, selling out every seat, every ticket, every concession stand in sight. Even on crutches or wrapped in ice, she moved through crowds like a magnet through metal shavings, pulling fans from blocks away to witness her sideline swag. There's something almost absurd about a player who isn't playing dominating headlines. Yet here we are living it. You could almost forget there was a basketball game at all, because Caitlin's presence became the game.
The end of WNBA All-Star Weekend, Team Collier brought home the victory.
From the moment her entourage, 10 burly guards decked in black, stepped off the charter jet, the city of Indianapolis transformed. Street vendors swapped jerseys for posters reading simply, "I was here for Caitlin." Local DJs remixed her name into halftime anthems. Even the Bronco buses paused in traffic so riders could glimpse the phenomenon. It wasn't about points per minute or stat lines, it was about a cultural current that caught everyone off guard and refused to let go.
151 over Team Clark 131, and boy, what is it?
The energy didn't just hum, it roared. Reporters raced to capture fans fainting in the aisles, little girls clutching homemade signs, grandparents recording every second on flip phones borrowed from their garage. Cameras zoomed in on delighted expressions, on open-mouthed awe when Caitlin paused at a barricade to sign an autograph. That night, the light in the arena wasn't from the overhead fixtures, it was from the flashbulbs of thousands of smartphones, each one a tribute to a player who didn't even play.
What was a very eventful evening, we will help you put a bow on. Hello, I'm LaChina Robinson.
Behind the spectacle, though, was a story of savvy and authenticity. Caitlin Clark didn't orchestrate flash mobs. She showed up everywhere. She coached youth teams at Sunrise, handing out trophies with the same genuine grin she wears under intense media scrutiny. She high-fived toddlers at fan festivals, stayed late for selfies until security gently nudged her into the back entrance, then snuck back out to surprise another circle of waiting admirers. In sweats and sneakers, she became both superstar and neighbor next door.
Joined by Ari Chambers, and welcome to the wrap-up presented by AT&T. I'm almost out.
Yet, not everything was glitter and gold. Critics scoffed. "She's not even playing," they said. "What kind of all-star sells out a stadium with 0 minutes?" The skeptics ranted on podcasts about hollow hype and league pandering. But for every cynic, there were 10 more first-time WNBA attendees who lit up as soon as Caitlin's name echoed through the PA. They bought jerseys, popcorn, tickets to next year's game, because they felt part of something bigger. They weren't just fans of basketball, they were witnesses to a movement.
Out of a voice, because this has been this has been a long.
Her role as honorary assistant coach under Sandy Brondello only amplified the intrigue. Rather than sulk in the stands, Caitlin donned a whistle and clipboard, barking encouragement, drawing up imaginary plays on spare napkins, and leading motivational chants between timeouts. She prowled the sidelines like a veteran, clapping emphatically, pacing with purpose, reminding everyone that leadership isn't measured in playing time. The head coach even admitted she'd hand over the reins to Caitlin any day, proof that respect extends beyond talent to unshakable confidence.
Fun, exciting, and unpredictable weekend, and to put a bow on everything, Team Collier got.
This sideline strategy culminated in a live TV appearance smack in the heart of the city, where thousands pressed against barricades just to hear her speak. When the host quipped, "Imagine if she'd scored 20 points in a minute," the crowd erupted, not for a hypothetical stat dump, but for a celebration of possibility. The point wasn't about scoring, it was about presence. Caitlin Clark's everyday charisma outscored any buzzer beater.
At the victory, but what is the vibe right now post-game for you, Ari?
Right now it feels kind of light, right? Everybody's in a good mood.
Funniest part? She never pandered. No canned lines, no overproduced segments, just Caitlyn being Caitlyn. She lamented missing the game, but celebrated being among her people. She quipped about the absurd number of security guards shadowing her, then slipped behind them to hug a fan's prosthetic leg, not because it was PR, but because that fan had confided it helped her chase her own hoops dreams. It was these unfiltered moments that seeped into every newsfeed, turning casual scrollers into diehard believers.
There's so many people here still lingering, seeing their favorite players.
Yes.
It's just a fun time. That's the
Every corner of Indiana felt her impact. In the lobby of her hotel, staff swapped gossip about her last-minute elevator selfie. On college campuses, professors paused lectures to stream her interviews. Even local bartenders crafted Caitlyn Clark cocktails. Mocktails, actually, topped with whipped cream smiles. The city buzzed as if she'd dribbled a ball between two buses and thrown it through a Ferris wheel. Though the real trick was how she transformed routine appearances into headline affairs.
word to sum up the whole weekend. Just fun. And it's funny because Fee did her big one today.
When the All-Star game finally tipped off, the arena was electric, but for reasons beyond the score. Fans were decked head to toe in her gear, chanting her name so loudly it rattled chandeliers. Some held homemade scoreboards marking minutes Caitlyn didn't play, as if it were the season's hottest stat. Yet the mood wasn't bitter. It was celebratory. Every chant, every cheer was a nod to her unparalleled influence. In the middle of a live broadcast, commentators paused mid-sentence to marvel at the sight of thousands on their feet, waving arms in unison, not for a three-director, but for pure star power. Off the court, her social media feeds exploded. Clips of her sprinkling confetti on middle schoolers, of her sketching signing autographs on fallen hats, of her roaring sideline scream, each went viral within hours. Memes popped up. Caitlyn Clark, MVP of Atmosphere. Influencers reposted her genuine video answering the two questions we started with, and millions responded. Because every shot, even off-court, is a masterpiece. Sponsors scrambled to snag moments. Local businesses offered discounts to anyone wearing her jersey.
In the physical, Team Collier, we said, maybe Team Collier won't be as focused, but
Through it all, the WNBA's All-Star Weekend morphed into the Caitlyn Clark experience. Ticket sales shattered records, but more importantly, it opened doors for future stars. Advertisers who once shied from women's sports took notes. Youth programs saw spikes in enrollment. Girls and boys inspired by her sideline leadership. And perhaps most tellingly, older fans who drifted away from basketball rekindled their passion, drawn back by the sheer magnetism of a star transcending playtime. By the time the final buzzer sounded, on a game she never touched, the true victory was clear. Caitlyn Clark had rewritten the playbook on what it means to be an athlete. She sold out an arena not with statistics, but with sincerity. Not with trophies, but with authenticity. She proved that impact isn't measured by minutes played, but by hearts won. And now, as she heals, she's already plotting her return. Not with hollow promises, but with a quiet confidence that she'll be even bigger next season.
Won in a dominant way. I don't think they trailed at all. Maybe.
Yeah, they were out of the gates. They were humming from the
So here we are, at the end of this wild saga, asking again, what's the hardest part about playing basketball? You'd think it's the physical grind, the endless practice, the pressure of performance. But if you're Caitlyn Clark, the real challenge is staying grounded when the world spins a little faster because you're in it. The hardest part is measuring your worth when the loudest applause greets you off court. The hardest part is reminding yourself why you love the game when love comes from every direction. If you felt that energy, if you jammed your heart into every story, then you know. This wasn't just a weekend. It was a cultural earthquake. And at the epicenter stood one name, Caitlyn Clark.
very beginning. And in fact, Fee really set, the tone for her entire team.
But the story didn't stop when the final buzzer sounded. In the days that followed, the ripples of Caitlyn Clark's All-Star takeover reached far beyond Indianapolis. Headlines shifted from sold-out to sell-out success, celebrating record merchandise sales and renewed TV contracts. Fans who once watched the WNBA casually on weekends now marked every game on their calendars, proud to be part of the surge. Even teams in smaller markets saw upticks in ticket interest, as listeners who caught the All-Star buzz wondered if they might glimpse Caitlyn's magic in their hometown arenas. Local businesses seized the moment too. Cafes renamed smoothies Caitlyn's Charge, serving drinks that matched her trademark energy. Gyms hosted Clark Clinics, where trainers broke down her shooting form and sideline drills. Phone wallpapers featuring her candid sideline poses topped the charts in app stores. It wasn't just a marketing ploy. It was proof that her influence transcended sports brackets and fanned into everyday life. In towns hundreds of miles from any court, children practiced crossover moves in living rooms and driveways, believing a future with Caitlyn-like stardom was within reach.
She ended up breaking the All-Star game and captain and MVP record.
Behind the scenes, WNBA officials quietly recalibrated their marketing strategies. Mid-season promotions began highlighting the Caitlyn effect, pairing rising rookies with seasoned veterans in co-headlining events. Networks negotiated broader game packages, citing the surge in viewership fostered by her all-star presence. Even sponsors who once balked at women's sports signed new deals, from tech firms to sneaker companies, eager to tap into the fresh demographic she attracted. The league's executives met in closed-door strategy sessions, agreeing that Caitlyn's weekends had rewritten the rulebook on how to grow a franchise. On social media, the frenzy only intensified. Hashtags like Clark Carnival trended for days, showcasing fan edits of Caitlyn sporting impromptu hairstyles or dribbling in unexpected settings. Memes transformed her into a cultural icon, photoshopped atop skyscrapers, drifting in space, or conducting business meetings in boardrooms. The viral nature of these posts fueled conversations in living rooms and lunchrooms alike, turning casual viewers into passionate advocates. TikTok challenges popped up, inviting users to reenact her sideline clap or mimic her signature grin. Suddenly, the WNBA had crossed into mainstream pop culture.
But the most points in an all-star game, 36 points. What stood out to you, Ari?
Going into the season.
Meanwhile, Caitlyn herself embraced her new role with characteristic humility. She used the All-Star aftermath to launch a scholarship fund for underprivileged youth, pledging a portion of her merchandise royalties to cover travel expenses for kids attending elite basketball camps. She surprised recipients at family homes, handing over jerseys and letters of acceptance to their dream programs. The reactions ranged from teary hugs to stunned silence, each response reinforcing her belief that her platform meant more than personal glory. If selling out an arena was power, then empowering young dreamers was purpose.
We knew Fee had a chip on her shoulder, right? From multiple things, the WNBA championship, unrivaled, but
Her philanthropic pivot inspired other athletes across leagues. NBA stars donated game-worn sneakers to community centers in her honor. Olympians mentioned her impact during interviews, describing how her all-star aura reminded them of the universal power of sports. Even non-athletes chimed in. Musicians and actors offered to perform at charity events she organized. The initial all-star spectacle had ignited a movement of giving, reminding everyone that athletic stardom could translate into social change. Suddenly, the question wasn't only about what Caitlyn could do on court, but how far she could push positive impact off it.
I had no idea she would take that into the All-Star game. She said she wanted to win, and she did. And she's like...
On the hardwood, the post-All-Star season took on new drama. Teams adjusted tactics to counter opponents inspired by Caitlyn's all-star dominance. Coaches emphasized bench energy and sideline leadership, borrowing from her template of vocal encouragement. Players across the league reported feeling invigorated, as if the All-Star weekend had injected a fresh shot of adrenaline into every game. Attendance numbers crept upward in subsequent home matches, as tickets snapped up faster than before. Even the lowest-seeded teams saw brief sellouts when they scheduled Caitlyn's squad as opponents, proof that her influence survived beyond a single weekend. The merchandise story alone could fill volumes. Jerseys featuring her name moved off shelves faster than printers could restock. Special edition All-Star memorabilia doubled in value on resale markets. Collectors hunted for limited-run posters and commemorative pins, some reselling for hundreds of dollars. Websites crashed under the weight of demand, prompting restocks and surprise releases. It was a seller's dream come true, but Caitlyn insisted on keeping prices accessible, negotiating with manufacturers to cap markups so that real fans, especially young ones, could afford a piece of history.
Team Collier is the reason why you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Meanwhile, sports writers framed the phenomenon as a test case for athlete branding. Columns analyzed every aspect of her all-star surge, deconstructing the recipe: authenticity, accessibility, and a flair for the dramatic. Podcasters invited marketing experts to speculate on how other leagues could replicate the feat. Business schools tabled case studies on her weekend, teaching students about the intersection of sports, culture, and commerce. Even economists noted the local economic boost in Indianapolis, quantifying increased hotel stays, restaurant bookings, and tourism sparked by that single weekend. Caitlin's presence had become a textbook example of star power's return on investment. At community courts across the country, pickup games took on a new spirit. Players adopted her style, quick passes, animated celebrations, loud cheers for every basket.
Did all the Fee things, just high scoring.
She's really setting the tone for what is a historic run going back to...
So, what's next for Caitlin Clark? Will she shatter more records, headline more events, or spark even deeper change? The only certainty is that when she steps into that spotlight, she won't just play the game. She'll transform it.
Defensive Player of the Year, taking her team to the finals last year. What she did in the offseason was unrivaled. Now,
if you believe Caitlin Clark's influence extends beyond the court, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into game-changing moments, and drop "Clark changed it" in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to witness how one person's presence can ignite an entire movement. Catch you courtside next time.